Hello everyone, Battlelog here, and I have for you my impressions after the first act of Lost Judgment. But before we start, here's a quick info. Over 95 users that watch my channel isn't subscribed. If you like what I do, if you like my videos, like my work, subscribe, leave a like, it helps me out and motivates me to work harder. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. So far, I'm after a first act of the game, and oh boy, it's so good! Once again, as Takayuki Yagami, we dive into a new mysterious case and try to hold a grasp of one and only truth to make sure justice will prevail. I was hyped for the game since I finished playing the first Judgment a few years ago, and when Ryuga Gotoku Studio announced the sequel, I was on the board of the hype train immediately. And oh boy, the destination is sure something great. But let's pull all the feelings aside and let me tell you about what the first impression Lost Judgment gives. I'll try not to get into spoilers territory, but there will probably be some. So just remember, you've been warned. The story! After the first act of the game, I must say, it all looks promising. The way the gang handled the first case is really good, and the finale is just a cherry on the top. Meeting with old friends is nice, and seeing them in new roles is really good, especially for Tsukumo, who graduated from living in the internet cafe to being full IT guy in detective agency together with Sugimura when his partner business with him. He really went a long way. Props to this guy. About the plot. Main plot also sounds promising. I won't tell too much. I don't know too much about the main plot yet. I avoided all trailers and spoilers that showed up in the internet. But so far it looks really solid. I must say it might be the best Ryuga Gotoku Studio scenario so far. But I will come back to that verdict after I finish the game. So far, so good. Next is gameplay. Walking around the city is the same as usual. New thing added is a skateboard, which we get access to by the end of our first day in Yokohama. Controls are fun and maybe a little stiff. It looks great, but to be honest, streets aren't exactly good places to ride the skateboard. Problem is that whenever a Agami just touches the sidewalk, you can only skate on the streets. He gets off the board, so you constantly get on and off from the skateboard. It's very easy to crash into or run into something. Maybe once I unlock skatepark I will have more to say about skateboard and skating, but so far I will stay away from it. I prefer traveling on foot. Biggest changes in the game are in the fighting system. And oh boy, this is freaking amazing! Fights are now so fluid and quick. Combos land powerfully and look great. Switching between styles is almost instant, and when you switch, it cancels the combo you're actually doing. And you can do it and you can cancel your combo at any time. So mixing all three styles together in the one lock combo is possible, and when pulled off, it gives out a lot of fun and satisfaction. Newest addition to Yagami moveset is Snake Style, based on Aikido, according to what Kaito says. It's really powerful when used right. Snake Style is a defensive style, but I will say it's more powerful than the other styles that we have. And it's slowly growing to be my favorite style in the game. It works great not only on enemies with weapons, but also can give you a counter against most of the attacks. If you manage to do a perfect guard against enemy attack while in Snake Style, the fear will take him over. That's when you can perform non-lethal takedowns in forms of X actions. And oh boy, they are sure a bliss to look at. Next we have a Battlelog, where we can see actions performed during battle and how much SP points we get from each action. You get more points by mixing various styles, doing more finishers, using weapons, environments. Don't be afraid to experiment with the way you're fighting. More SP points means more skills. More skills means better fighting. Better fighting means more SP points. It's simple circle that keeps on moving on its own. Next, we have detective side of the gameplay, which was reworked as well and had a new element included in Lost Judgment. We have a first person view in which we are looking for clues or details as well as tailing a suspect, and that's where changes start. In original Judgment, tailing missions were very boring, and by the many were considered its weakest point, mainly because they were way too easy. AI of our target was dumb. It could forget it's being followed after few seconds, and if it noticed us before we hit ourselves, it's game over. And there were too many places to hide or blend into during these missions, so it was really hard to get a game over. You had to be totally uncareful and don't care about hiding. The time it also took the AI to rise its suspicion level high enough to connect the dots felt like forever. If we stayed hidden long enough, it would drop down completely in a matter of seconds, so getting game over during tailing missions was really hard. In Lost Judgment, this element has been revamped. Target has a suspicion bar, which value is kept throughout the whole mission. So every mistake we made is added to the pile of suspicions of our target. And that makes these originally boring missions actually pretty challenging. It's very welcomed change. Another great addition is blending in button. When you press triangle or Y on the Xbox, Yagami just starts acting the way every pedestrian would. Fumbles through his phone, ties his shoes, looks for something on the street, usual stuff. It's really great when we got noticed and there's no place to hide. But stay careful, once the blending in button gauge runs out, you cannot use it again until the mission ends, so stay alert about it. Sadly, there's also a downgrade in that segment. In First Judgment, you could hide behind cars, little ledges, or signs on the street. Now Yagami hides only behind corners, and what's more, he does that automatically. So if there's no corner or anything big enough to hide, your only option is to just stay away from your target as far away as possible while keeping it in your camera view. I must say, it's a little odd change. I mean, why they removed the hiding system, but it adds a little challenge to these missions, so I can say it's a bad decision in the end. We also get something new, stealth missions, where in a similar way to the Thief series or Assassin's Creed, we have to get from one point to another totally unnoticed by the guards. We must be careful not to step on any can or glass, since they alarm the guards in the area. During these, we will get also a chance to use Yagami's sparkle skills, where Yagami can climb and move along the narrow ledges or move along the pipes, both vertically and horizontally. Yagami gets tired pretty quickly, so you have to be careful to not tire him out too much. If he does, he can fall down from the big heights, and that takes a lot of health and can even kill our detective. So far, the detective side of the gameplay is much better. I don't say it's a masterpiece, but it's a fair improvement over the original Judgment. There's one thing that Ryuga Gotoku Studio didn't work on and just left it the same way as in original Judgment. And that thing is that you can't wear disguises outside of specific points in the story. Just what the hell, people? It's a great way to avoid unnecessary mob battles on the map. You can just move around the city in disguise to save time on the fighting, but no, let's keep it just tied to the story and specific missions. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me that thinks it would be good addition, but let's move on. Now let's talk about the graphics. Just like one could expect, they're solid. Characters' models are great and detailed. Original Judgment had great models already. Remastered tweaked them up a little bit, and Lost Judgment seems to use even more detailed ones. Yagami looks smooth, and his jacket looks just great. I always had a feeling it was a little dried up in original, but here it looks perfect, it looks so smooth. Same for other actors, both new and returning ones, except obviously random NPCs in the game. Every important character looks great and it gives us a taste of what we can get in the future games once we leave current generation and focus only on next games. Takuya Kimura comes back as Yagami and so all the actors from previous game and they all do their job. They sound as good as in previous installment. It's really great to hear them again. About new faces, so far I could only look at the chairman of the school and Sawa sensei, and both voices fit, especially for Sawa. She's fierce, passionate teacher with firm resolve and it shows. Koda-chan had a little to say and we didn't saw too much of her, so I will hold with my opinion here. The bullies on the other hand, I hate these guys, but well, they are your typical bullies, so nothing outstanding, at least for now. Just like with Koda-chan, I will hold with opinion until much later in the game because I have a feeling it's not the last time we see or hear about them. Now, about the environments, Kamurocho looks great as always. But to be honest, I didn't notice any bigger changes. Maybe it's because I played Judgment Remastered a few months ago and my memories are still vivid. But of course it doesn't mean it looks bad. It's the same neon lighted city you know and it looks just great. Yokohama, on the other hand, is a breath of fresh air. Literally. We drop dark narrow streets and get some more open area with a little green. It's really refreshing change of pace. I played Yakuza 7 on my PC with highest possible settings, and now going back to Yokohama and Little Judgment on PS5, it looks even better. I think it's the lighting that does the main job here. There aren't too many changes obviously, they removed few buildings and added new ones. Map seems to be mostly the same as in Yakuza 7, but there's still too much of city to explore. In the first act of the game you can explore the city but there's nothing to do in it. Only shops to visit and at the beginning of the game you don't have too much cash, so it's a little pointless to wonder about Yokohama right now. I will say more about Yokohama and its all attractions in later video. So these are my impressions about Lost Judgment after finishing first act of the game. Did I enjoy it? Of course I did. Is it good? Yes it is. Are there some mistakes? Yes they are. Could some elements be better? Yes they could. But I have a great time playing it. So far, Lost Judgment just makes you want to play it. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and watch Lost Judgment series on my channel. Another summary video will be after I finish second act of the game. Well, that's all for now. Have fun and let's discover the truth together. Battlelog out.